Trees. To me, they're like my friends. They're offering constant support. As I walk in the Australian bush, I am surrounded by eucalypts. We call them gum trees here, and I do have some favorites. One is the easily identifiable scribbly bark gum. So called because it's a tiny insect that makes scribbles as it worms its way up the trunk. And then there's the ribbon bark gum, where the bark sheds like ribbons falling to the base of the tree. And there's the Sydney red gum with its distinctive color and smooth bark. And my mind wanders to all the other trees that I've encountered in my travels and that I grew up around with. The Japanese maple comes to mind with its dainty and delicate leaves that gives us so much pleasure in autumn when the leaves change into gold and flaming reds. I grew up with a mango tree, a coconut palm, and a guava tree in my garden in Singapore. Oh, they offered delicious fruit. But today I'm taking you to India, where my parents were born, where the banyan tree, a species of the fig, is the state tree. And I can't help but think of another fig species, the Ficus religiosa, which is the tree that the Buddha is supposed to have sat under to obtain enlightenment. But my story takes place today in the state of Rajasthan, where to the Bishnoi community, the kedri tree is much revered. It is now the state tree of Rajasthan. Young Amrita Devi grew up playing in the shade of the kedri trees with the other village children. Oh, she was young, curious, and very observant. She loved watching the insects and the birds make their home in the tree and the weaver birds making their nest. She watched as the camels, the goats, and the cattle munched away on the green leaves. She loved it when her mother would pick the pods of the tree and make a delicious, tasty vegetable dish from its beans, highly nutritious as well. And she saw the elderly women in the village use the bark to make healing concoctions for all sorts of ailments, including snake bites and scorpion bites. And as she grew older, she learned further the importance of the trees. Their deep, deep roots reach the water table in order for the trees to thrive in these desert conditions. And she learned that those deep roots and the strong, sturdy trunks helped the village when there were shifting sand dunes due to dust storms. Those trees sheltered the villages and the animals and their fields during these terrible dust storms and sandstorms. Amrita Devi, oh, she loved those trees, and I would like to think that she would be speaking to them every day, thanking them and sharing her thoughts. There is a saying in Hindi that says, "Agar ped hai, to hum hai," which translate to, if there's trees, there is I. The Bishnois considered the kedri tree their tree of life. But on a fateful day in 1730, things changed. Amrita Devi woke up and heard the hooves, the thundering hooves of horses, and she rushed out of a modest hut and she saw men on horses dressed in the Maharaja's uniform, and other men wielding axes. She learned that the Maharaja of Jodhpur, Abhay Singh, had sent his men out to cut down the trees in order to reinforce his fortress. The strong timber from the kedri trees were perfect for his purpose. When Amrita Devi heard about this, she pled, she begged the men not to cut down her precious trees, the trees that her community needed so badly. Do you think the men listened to a mere woman? Of course not. They had to obey their king. And as that first axe struck at that first kedri tree, Amrita Devi felt that axe cut right through her heart. She went and she hugged that tree. And her 3 daughters, Asu, Ragni, and Bagu, did the same. And that day, and in the days that followed, 363 Bishnoi villages did the same. It was a sad day as Amrita Devi, her 3 daughters, and the 363 villages lost their lives. It is said that Maharaja Abhay Singh was confounded, astounded that a woman and the Bishnoi villagers would sacrifice their lives for trees. It is said he went down there personally. And when he learned how important those trees were for the community, he made a rule that those trees were to be protected forever. It was too late for Amrita Devi, her daughters, and the other villagers. But in 1970, there was inspiration from her deed, as women from another state in India hugged the trees in their area to prevent them from commercial felling. And this time, they succeeded. And out of this arose the Chipko movement. And Chipko in Hindi means literally to stick. And by hugging those trees and sticking to those trees, the women in that state and other states succeeded in halting commercial felling. Amrita Devi's story is not forgotten. In 2001, the government of India had an award named after her, the Amrita Devi Bishnoi Wildlife Conservation Award, given to an individual or an organization who promoted wildlife conservation. My friends, I am no Amrita Devi, but I know I can look after some trees in my little patch here in the Blue Mountains in Australia. Thank you.